These lights are really bright. Can we tone them down a little bit? Oh, perfect.
Nope.
I'll be blind.
This is this one. Oh, are we there? We're not there. You can never see. You can never see. Where's my... It's a... Oh, hey, there we go. We're missing microphones. So if you have found a microphone, please let me know so we can... oh, are you... This is a hot mess.
This is.
What, did you do anything?
No, I didn't touch it.
Oh, no, he muted you.
Oh.
He doesn't want you to... There,
there we go.
There he goes. Daniel's freaking out.
It's okay, guys.
Good evening, everybody.
What is
Good
up?
to see y'all. All three of you. Welcome aboard. If you're here early, you're actually doing it right because then you get a chance to actually find a seat where you want to sit and then not where you just have to sit when there's no seats left at the end of the night. So welcome. If you're online with us, all y'all on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, hello. Good to have you as well. I'm Josh, and this is...
Hi, I'm Alyssa.
Alyssa.
Yes.
Tell you something about yourself.
I am a senior at St. Joe's.
Okay.
And my favorite subject in school is math.
Most embarrassing memory.
Oh. I don't even know, Josh.
Are you one of those people that's like not easily embarrassed?
Yeah, no.
My most embarrassing memory is my current haircut.
Really?
Yeah, I got a haircut today.
Oh.
And that's why I'm wearing a
Back
hat.
to hair. That's probably mine right now. So I do my hair a lot, and I need to stop. And so I have like these little baby hairs, if you can see them up here.
Okay, yeah,
do you see them?
Yeah.
And they just like stick up.
Like
and I'm
this.
like, what? And I try to hairspray
like a
them
unicorn.
down. I know.
Yeah.
That's very embarrassing.
Yeah, my most embarrassing memory was this afternoon I went to Great Clips, and I thought, this will be fun. And then I got way too much cut off, and now I have like a pixie cut, but I'm a guy. So it doesn't really go quite as well. So I have a hat on purpose. Hopefully Jill's not watching this because she told me, don't go to Great Clips because they always cut it too short. And I was like, I will make sure they don't cut it too short this time, honey. And lo and behold, my pixie cut is right here for all to see. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So you can call me Tinkerbell if you want. What? I look like Jet? That's a compliment to him.
A little bit, yeah.
A compliment to Jet. There you go. Well, hey, welcome. My haircut welcomes you, and so does Alyssa. We got a few. We're going to get started. I think half the people are downstairs and half are on their way, so we'll just get started without them because they're snoozing and they're losing. Alyssa, what do you want to say?
Welcome. Remember that while you're here, it is all about Jesus. That is our motto. I think that's what it's called, right?
You look like you're like looking out over the horizon.
Sorry, these lights are so
bright. For your
bright.
boyfriend to come over, like sailing out of the sunset on a horse. Well, you don't sail on a horse, but you're like looking for him on the horizon, like, where art thou, boyfriend? I was just like, I ask myself that question every day. Sorry, you host with me, you get roasted. So if it's your first time here, welcome. Hey, it's always awkward to walk into a new place for the first time. I don't care who you are. I'm 33. And my haircut makes me look like I'm 12, but I'm 33, and it doesn't matter how old you get, it is always awkward to walk into a new place for the first time. So if that's you here tonight, way to go. It takes a little extra effort, we know that. But I believe if you hang around here for like 8 weeks or so, it'll feel way less weird. You'll get to know us, we'll get to know you, and this place will feel a lot more like home than it does right now. So, and if you're returning, we're glad you're here, and welcome back. Glad this is a place that you call home. Invite someone to be a part of this chaos. So. Yeah. Anything else?
Oh, TJ registration is open.
Let's go.
Who is planning on going to TJ?
Wow, okay, there we go.
Can we get some noise? Because I can barely see people. Can we get a little woo?
Woo-hoo.
Thank you.
Well, how do you say that in Spanish? Woo, ay, ay.
I don't even know.
I should stop. This is being live streamed. This is on the internet. TJ is open, and if you want to come build houses with families that can't afford their own, we'd love to have you. Go online, sign up. It's $100 to get signed up, and then everything else after that will help you figure out. So That's also Daniel. Daniel is on the top of a house right there, and he's back there right now, not on top of a house. Hey, round of applause for Daniel for being everywhere all at once. Daniel, you're in 4 places at once right now. You are on that screen, on that screen, on that screen, and over there. That's amazing. Okay, what's next?
Okay, next is Ascend. Registration is open, and Ascend is Hume for tech and worship team.
Yes.
So if you are on tech or worship team, I recommend signing up because
Looking at
Hume
you,
is
Daniel.
so much fun.
Again.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually way cheaper than regular Hume too, so get signed up for that. Or talk to Sarah or Philip or Jonah. And I'll take this one. Hey, if you come on Sundays, we want you to be a part of what's going on. Obviously, if you're a main service person, do that. Take sermon notes. Any Sunday you're here, if you take sermon notes and bring them to the table on the plaza afterwards, we'll give you a card for a free coffee, and you can take it right to the coffee shop and get your deal, get your smoothie, get whatever. But if you decide, hey, I don't want to go service, we got high school and junior high class every Sunday, 11:30, except the first Sunday of the month. But this Sunday is not the first Sunday of the month, so come on here. Nancy cooks pancakes. Bill teaches the word. Robert comes and hangs out. It's a good time. So we'd love to see you guys there. 11:30 in this room. Yep. Hey, what else we got?
Are there any more?
That's it. It's all about Jesus again.
Woo.
Just in case you forgot, it's still about Jesus. Well, hey, that is it. We're not here to entertain you because that's not the point of coming to church is be entertained. The point of coming to church is to pursue after the Lord. And so we're going to do that tonight. We are going to do some worship. We are going to have Robert bring the word on. You're talking about dating tonight, yeah? Wow. From someone who is dating, Robert is currently engaged, which is technically still dating. So what to that. And so Robert's going to bring the word, excited about that. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. Well, what are we doing now, Robert?
Is there a game?
What? We don't have worship today. They're downstairs. It's you? That was so fast. Wow. Well, hey, on the count of three, it's one clap for Robert. 1, 2, 3. Oh, no, that was terrible. I said on the count of 3. Who doesn't know how to count? I didn't even start. I was like, 1. Okay. I hate all of you. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. That was
really good.
Really good. Hey, do you want to pray? Or do you want me to pray?
Who said for the children? Jonah, was that you?
Wow.
Yes, I can pray. That's fine.
You can pray for the children. You can pray for whoever you want.
I'll be praying for the children tonight.
Let's pray
then.
for Robert. Let's pray for Robert.
All right. Bow your heads. Close your eyes. Dear Heavenly Father, tonight I pray for the students and I pray for Robert during his sermon. And I pray that forever, for all of the students who need to hear what he has to say tonight, it touches their hearts. And I pray for a great rest of the week for the students. Amen.
Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, Robert.
Is it on now? Sweet, it is. Cool. All right, guys. Hey, so sorry for that weird transition. I'm still trying to get used to the schedule. Anyway, so my name, if you're new, welcome. If you're new, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. My name is Robert. I'm one of the 12th grade leaders, and I'm also currently serving on staff. And what that means is I'll be giving the sermons here and there a bit more, and Josh will be around here somewhere with his flowy hair, and so, yeah, that guy. Yeah, funny story about that. We were actually golfing, and we were golfing, and his driver of his car, smashed into my car, and that's the reaction you get when you run into someone else. Wait, put that picture back. What are you doing showing my picture? Put that picture back. Yeah, okay, yeah, put that picture back. Don't go to the other picture just yet. Okay, anyway, so if you didn't know, we're in the 3rd week of our relationship series. 2 weeks ago, Josh mentioned the vertical relationship. Why am I getting feedback? So he talked about that vertical relationship. It's the most important relationship you're ever going to have, right? And we know that because Christ is the foundation of our relationships. It's more important than your relationship with your mom, your dad, your sister, your gopher, your cat, your dog. If you guys have a pet gopher, I want to meet it. So please introduce me to your pet gopher. And then he talked about those horizontal relationships, right? So we made a cross, right? So those horizontal relationships are your friends, your family, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your gopher, etc. And so today I'm going to talk about that horizontal relationship and how to have those healthy and what can be unhealthy relationships. So since all of us are high school students, if you're a junior high, you're in the wrong room. So if you're a high school student, stay up here. Junior high, go back downstairs. Raise your hand if you're currently dating or have dated someone. Raise your hand high. Raise your hand high. So I want to see these people. Sweet. Dave, I thought you were married. Yeah, raise your hand. Anyway, so if you guys, I know that a lot of you raise your hands, and I know that because I've heard those stories about your boyfriends and your girlfriends, etc., and your dating habits. And ladies in your room, has a guy ever used a cheesy pickup line? Right, yeah, no, never. Okay, guys, raise your hand if you use a cheesy pickup line on a girl. All right, cool, all right, cool, okay. So when I was in high school, I don't know if you can put that picture up. When I was in high school, we didn't have Instagram, we didn't have Snapchat, we didn't have any of those, like the TikTok, right? We were in the awkward transition between MySpace and Facebook, right? And so, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, and we also didn't have unlimited texting at the time. Texting was still 15 cents to receive, when to send was 10 cents, or something weird like that, right? And I racked up the bill, especially with my dad, right? And my mom. And so that was in 2006. And one of my pickup lines, you can start showing those pictures of me, by the way, on the screen. My pickup line was, on the scale of 1 through America, how free are you this Friday? Yeah, hey, right. Is that what I'm talking about, right? That was a good one. It never worked. It never worked, let me tell you. I mean, who wanted to date this guy, right? You can show the other pictures. I think there's a few more pictures going on that slide. Yeah, there's that with blonde hair. Yeah. Look at that guy, right? Look at that guy. It's totally a geek. Yeah, I was a band geek, and so if any of you guys are in band, like, you know what I'm talking about. But either way, so a little skip there. I also understand that some of you have never dated. One, because maybe your parents said you can't date, and that's totally fine. Or maybe some of you just don't want to date, and that's okay too. Yeah, it's okay not to date. It's okay. You don't have to go on a date. You don't have to. Society tells us that we have to go on dates. Society says we should go on dates, but society doesn't really know about what your faith is. And so today's sermon is about those relationships, and this is tailored towards everyone. So if you've never dated someone, this is an opportunity for you to take notes for those healthy relationships that can come together. So I've heard some of you guys' crazy stories, some of those train wreck stories. We can all agree that relationships both have the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, right? In our culture, I'm sure that we all can agree it's almost like the entire dating thing is its own ecosystem. It's its own language. It's almost defined to be so ambiguous that the more vague, the better, right? So I could be like, oh, so you and so-and-so are dating, and your response would be like, no, we're just friends. Or, so you guys are dating. No, we're just hanging out. No, we're just talking. No, we're just spending time together. You get the point. So, and I'm guilty in the sense of this because Eileen and I did the exact same thing. So when Eileen came back from from college, we did everything from ziplining to walking on the beach, going out to fancy dinners, and when someone asked us, are we dating, our response was no. So what's happening is we're creating a culture of dating that wants all the perks with none of the responsibilities. If we could throw as much fog into this dating thing and just make it so ambiguous, it just makes it so much better. But that's wrong, right? And so we ask the question, does the Bible even say anything about dating? If we aren't cautious, we tend to attract for what's on the outside as opposed to what's in the inside, right? And the biblical model of attraction is an eternal attraction based on someone's character, based on their godliness. If the effectiveness of a relationship was dependent on the beauty of the people that were in the relationship, Hollywood would have the best relationships in the world, right? Because apparently all the good-looking people live in Hollywood, right? And so, but we know that's false because we always hear from Team Z every week, every day, that so-and-so broke up, so-and-so got divorced, so-and-so just split up. Because it's not what's based on the outside, but what's based on the inside. When we begin to look at the problem, when we have the attraction, what happens is we begin to create patterns. One of the things I want you to think and do right now is you're training yourself to what you will become. So the things you practice now are things that would become normative and effective, not just in your dating relationships, but ultimately impact and affect your marriage. And a lot of you are like, oh, I'm not even thinking about marriage. But I'm not telling you you have to think about marriage, but the way you date now is going to ultimately impact how you're going to date in college, in the workforce, after the workforce. And so there are 3 elements to a dating relationship. There's the emotional, there's the spiritual, and then there's the physical. So emotionally, we tend to slide straight into intimacy because we begin to spend time together. We end up going on dates every night. We end up going on walks every night. We end up talking to the middle of the night. But we end up going from miniature golfing to talking about how many kids you want or how big of a house you want, right? And you're in high school. These aren't things you should even be thinking about, right? This is something after high school, after college, right? After the workforce. I want to tell you guys something that 98% of high school relationships fail. I want to be straight up with you. So if you're dating right now, I think we have maybe about 60 people in this room. Maybe just one of you will actually end up marrying the person you're actually dating right now. Maybe. It's a strong maybe. Theoretically, your relationship is going to end. So then there's spiritual, right? And so you say, Robert, I'm a believer, he or she is a believer, so we must be boyfriend, girlfriend. I would say, well, that's important. And of course, yeah. Otherwise, it's going to be awkward in the future, all right, especially if you end up marrying that person. But if he or she is not a believer, or if he or she doesn't love Christ and place Christ and have that vertical relationship, you're playing with fire. You're having this idea of, I'll try it before I buy it. So I'm going to try dating this person just because I want to try it. And so what ends up happening, if you end up dating someone who has that vertical relationship, you end up going to that life group with that person, you end up going to youth group together, you end up serving together, you end up praying together. But the thing is, I end up seeing here, a couple of weeks ago, I sat next to this couple, and he had his arm around the girl, and she was using his or her pen to write on his leg. And so coming here together doesn't mean you're both spiritually connected. It's what you're doing outside of here, right? It depends, how often are you dipping into your Bible? How often are you engaging with Christ? Just because you walk through those doors doesn't always mean you have a relationship with Christ. And so if I'm speaking to that couple and speaking to other couples in this room, you should put that pen to better use and actually take the notes, as opposed to writing notes on someone's leg. And then I mentioned about the physical. Physically, we must have some boundaries because we want to honor the Lord. We got to have those boundaries like nothing laying down, not coming over when parents are gone. We got to leave room for Jesus, right? Those are important boundaries to have. But most people don't understand is that these 3 elements of a dating relationship are connected like a chain, right? So we are emotionally connected. We enter into a relationship and talking till late night. Spiritually, we're connected. We're going to church together. We're serving together, going to youth group together. But then physically, we end up crossing some moral boundaries, right? We end up playing house in a dating context. Most relationships are hyperspeed. They end up going from 0 to 100 in a matter of weeks. And then you end up realizing, oh my gosh, I don't even like this person. Their breath smells, they have some BO, and then you just push the ejection button. And that's totally fine. You end up breaking up with him or her. Now, I would like to tell you that we're wise beyond our years and that we're going to learn from our mistakes, ultimately we end up doing the exact same thing over and over and over again, right? We end up going back into another relationship because that person's hot, not because they have a spiritual relationship with someone. Or a spiritual relationship with Christ, sorry. And that's called breakup on steroids. I think we all know what steroids are. They're a type of drug where, it's bad for you, etc. But we end up breaking up over and over and over again. If you've given yourself to another person emotionally, spiritually, and physically, only to have those relationships end, truth be told, by the time you're young adults are married, committing to one another, they've been emotionally, spiritually, and physically divorced multiple times before they've ever said I do, because they've given themselves away throughout their young adult and high school life. If we're creating a pattern that's normative expression, that you slam the three elements into intimate, if, for example, you dive into playing house and are emotionally enmeshed, then you end up realizing you're not happy in a dating context, so you push the ejection button. What's that really teaching about a marriage context? What's that teaching you is that if things get hard, I'll just get divorced. That's why marriages are such in disrepair in our culture today. We attract the wrong type of people, and we date in unhealthy ways. So you're probably asking, is there another way to date and redefine dating? And so if you open your Bibles to the Song of Songs, chapter 1, verse 7, there's a conversation between two individuals, and it's a love story, right? And so that's up there. I'm going to read my version over here. Tell me whom my soul loves, where you pasture your flock, where you make it lie down at noon. For why should I be like the one who veiled herself beside the flock of your companions? So there's a lot to unpack from this, and there's theology and etc., and we just don't have the time for it. But I want to say something to the ladies and the guys. If you end up wanting to date someone, you have to go where those Christian followers are. You're not going to find them at the club. You're not going to find them at the gym. You're not going to find your person somewhere else where God isn't, right? So you're not going to find them in the future at a bar, right? You're going to find them serving at church, serving God, serving one another, serving someone else, and using that passion, that vertical relationship for those relationships. It's also important to realize from this verse is that this woman isn't going to give herself easily. Know your self-worth, right? And then we end up asking a question. And the number one question about dating is, how far is too far? But that's not the question we should be asking. The question we should be asking is, how godly can I be in this relationship? I want to argue that a date is a noun and not a verb. You go on a date. When I say date, I'm talking about a non-emotionally intimate, non-spiritually intimate, and non-physical intimate, a time where you just enjoy one another. I go on dates with my dad. I go on dates with my sister. I go on dates with Josh. We go to Chick-fil-A, right? We go on dates. And there's nothing wrong with that. And my perspective is it wrong for a girl to date a guy, his friend, and then his brother? I would say no. If the date is casual, girl, you just got fed 3 times, he picked up the bill, good for you, congratulations, you just worked the system, right? You just worked that system. But if you're emotionally intimate, spiritually intimate, and physically intimate, is it right for you to do what I just said? Absolutely not. You'd be called something else. There's 2 principles in the dating relationship. One is date in community. So if you're taking notes, write that down. You date in community. When the relationship starts, it's interesting how often a good dude and his posse and the girl and her posse are doing well, and all of a sudden, and I know a lot of you are guilty of this, they end up start dating and then they just disappear. Right? They end up not coming to youth group. They end up not going to church together. They end up not serving together like they said they would. And so then I'll ask the guy who's been gone for a while, I'm like, hey, dude, where have you been? And he's like, well, I've been with my girl. And I'm like, well, where's your girl? Well, she's not here, And then I'll ask the group of friends, like, hey, where's your guy been? They're like, I don't know, I haven't seen him in like 2 months. And then we all know what ends up happening is all of a sudden, a breakup happens. And the guy comes walking back to his posse, and he's like, sorry, guys, forgive me. You missed me, I'm sorry. And the same thing happens with the girls. Girls end up back to their group, and it's like, hey, guys, I'm sorry. I didn't listen to you guys. I got so carried away. And that's what ends up happening is that we end up having these patterns. I can almost guarantee you the reason why they weren't showing up is because they were moving intimate way too fast. They were trying to hide. We need to walk in the light as he is in the light. So I'll repeat that one more time. We need to walk in the light as he is in the light. Ladies, I think some of you could also agree that when your friend is dating someone that you think isn't right, you end up telling that person, hey, I think you should break up with that person. Or, hey, this guy isn't the right guy for you. But you end up not listening to your friends. But more than likely, your friends are probably right. Because in your mind, you're probably thinking all my friends just want to end up dating the guy I'm dating. No, they're emotionally removed from that relationship. They're not part of the relationship. They're watching your relationship unfold, and they're watching you date in an unhealthy way. My second element is date in public. We should date in public. We've bought into the romance of life that assumes that without intimacy, it's not a real relationship. So we put ourselves in compromising situations all the time. We can't figure out why we keep falling sexually. It's because we're looking for privacy. If you continue to read through the chapter, it goes on for a long time, you see that this couple ends up dating in public. Students like yourself and I struggled with this, right? I can tell you I've never heard of a couple getting it on at Denny's or at Chick-fil-A or Starbucks because they're dating in public, right? You want to be surrounded by people. I know for a fact, because I'm going to talk about some of my relationships where they were super unhealthy and that was the cause of them, right? I would always want my girlfriend to go to my dorm room, or I would want them to we would go to her dorm room, or we'll go to her house or my house or whatever the case was. You could guess what's going to happen because we end up dating in private. We end up doing the wrong things. What's unhealthy when I see walk through those doors is when I see a really great student walk in through those doors with a person that's just hovering over them and not letting them grow. I'm just going to use an example of a girl. She walks in, she introduces her new boyfriend, but her boyfriend just ends up standing right next to her the entire time and doesn't let her breathe, doesn't let her communicate with her girls, doesn't let her grow in faith. He should just leave her alone when they walk through the door and be separated. There's a group of guys here that he can hang out with. What I like seeing is when I see a couple walk through that door and they're like, oh yeah, hey, I'm gonna go with my group of friends, see ya. And they end up not talking at the beginning and end up sitting next to each other with their group of friends, which is totally fine. They end up going to life groups, they end up talking, and they meet up at the very end of life groups. That is healthy dating. You're letting each other grow with faith. I never let that happen with previous girlfriends. I was always hovering over them. I was always saying, don't talk to that guy. Who is that guy? If I could go back, I would definitely have changed that. But that wouldn't have made me who I am today, right? So if you're in a relationship that's just like that, and they're not a follower, I think you need to take a step back and realize that that's an unhealthy relationship from the very get-go. If you're dating someone who is a follower and claims to be a follower and is serving Christ, that's a relationship that could flourish. That's a relationship that can probably end up happening for eternity, right? A lot of you have heard my testimony where I was shocked a lot of you because you think I'm this like nice guy and I'm this guy that that is perfect in his relationship with Eileen. Eileen and I are far from perfect. I love Eileen with all my heart. I'm marrying the woman, right? And so I love her a lot. And real quick, can we give a shout out to Eileen? Like just say, hi, Eileen. Yeah, okay. She's not here because she's at home sick. So I know, oh, yeah, I love you. But she's watching. And she knows that I have a really bad past of relationships. And she's having to carry some of that baggage, right, with me because I am trying to be a better fiance and soon to be husband. I love you all, and I don't want to see in court, I see this all the time in court. I see parents getting divorced, and I hate it. It's the worst part of my job. I hate seeing parents fall apart. I hate seeing kids being torn apart. And it's because they're not dating. They didn't date in a healthy way. They didn't probably place Christ in the beginning of that relationship. So my thing is, remember to date in public and date in community. But first, have that relationship with Christ. The most important relationships above all. So, I kind of want to leave it open in a sense. If you guys have any questions about dating, I want you guys to be able to text a number. Real quick, can I get a slide up there? But just put my number on it real quick. 805, you guys can text my number right now. 868 7652. I know I'm probably going to get some text messages about like, hey guys, hey Robert. But really, if you guys have any questions, I want you guys to really ask those away. For the meantime, I'm going to share a quick story. If no one has a question, that's totally fine. But when I was in college, I used to lie about my relationship with Christ. I used to say to this girl, just because I thought cute girls were always Christians. And so I used to like go around Christian groups. And I used to be the instigator in the sense of like, and I'll repeat that number real quick, 805-868-7652. And when I found this girl, I would be like, hey, let's go hang out. And she's like, well, I got Bible study. And I'd be like, well, forget Bible study. Like, you got this. You've got this. And she would be like, no. And I'd be like, no, you've got this, let's go. And so I would pull her away from her Bible study, or small group. And lo and behold, I ended up pulling her away from Christ. And then I ended up breaking up with her. And now she's stuck in a rock between a hard place, right? She's stuck like, where do I go? Who do I talk to? Who should I go to? Oh, look, I got text messages. The Bible, real quick, I'm going to stop for my story real quick. Oh, I love you too, whoever said that. Does the Bible or Christianity say anything about long-distance relationships or even just meeting people online? Well, obviously the Bible wasn't written in the sense where we had smartphones, and we didn't have eHarmony, or we didn't have Match.com or Christian Mingle or something, right? Yeah, Jen, I have your contact. And so No, the Bible does not necessarily say anything about meeting people online. But it's a place where you can meet someone, right? Society has given us this opportunity where we have our smartphones to meet people from far away and meet people that we probably would never really meet. But what's that person's relationship with Christ, and where's your relationship with Christ that should really matter the most? Right? Are they serving at their church if they live in Minnesota? Are they loving on Jesus? Do they love their church family? Are they serving? Are they participating in their religious values and morals? Right? So I would say there's nothing wrong with meeting people online as long as they have a relationship with Christ and you have that relationship with Christ. How do you know if my boyfriend is toxic for me? That's, if you've had your friends say stuff like, you've got to break up with the guy, or you see that he's pulling you away from Christ, or you see that he's doesn't have a relationship with Christ and he's abusing you or talking down upon you, you're probably dating a toxic guy. And that was one of my MOs, right? I would just talk down on the girl, make her lose her self-worth. And girls sometimes fall for it, right? Because they like the bad guy, right? And as much as I look like a geek, or before, I was a really bad guy. Yeah. I think I still, I might go back to the blonde hair. Maybe not. I even bleached my eyebrows, you guys. Yeah, I bleached my eyebrows and I bleached my hair and that was all for a girl, by the way, just so you guys all know that. That was all for a girl. And that's because she liked Zac Efron. And I was like, I need to be just like Zac Efron. And that's what you end up getting. And I did not look like Zac Efron. So, but yeah, so if he's not supporting you in your walk with Christ, and he isn't encouraging you to walk with Christ, then right there is the plain you're in a toxic relationship from the get-go. Being dead serious. You're walking and you're playing with fire. Joan, I already have your number. So, and this is a good question. Are you dating just to date or dating to marry? Well, I defined a date early in the sermon, and date is, I'm going to say, is a noun and not a verb. So you could go on a date. Why not date? Like I said, I go on the date with Josh at Chick-fil-A. I go on a date with my dad to go play golf. But if your overall goal, I'm going to say after high school, is to date for marriage, right? That's everyone's goal. If I had waited till after high school to date, even possibly even after college, I probably wouldn't have made half the mistakes I made. Your overall goal is to date for marriage. And if that is your goal, then keep it that way. Don't date. Wait until after the fact. Wait until after high school. Because all these relationships you have with your boyfriend, girlfriend are possibly just meaningless. Can people change? Just let me read this text real quick. Can people change? And obviously, they can. I came to Christ at a different point in my life. And look at me now. I'm marrying probably the most beautiful girl I've ever met, right? And the most loving Christian I've ever met in my life. Her walk with Jesus is amazing. And yeah, so people can change. And here I am right now, like, standing in front of all of you, giving dating advice and giving you this, trying to help you guys and understand dating. Because I don't want you to fall just like me. So yeah, people can change. How do you know if your boyfriend or girlfriend is using you? And whoever said that, sup, dude. Well, I need more of a context of knowing exactly what you mean by that, but if they're using you for sex, or they're using you for money, then you're probably being used, obviously. There's your answer. But, okay, thank you. Money. If they're using you for money, you need to jump ship. Because that's never going to stop. Can long distance work? Depends how committed you are, right? You're in high school. Now, if you're talking long distance from Rigetti High School to Samaria High School, maybe. But if you're talking about, from Santa Maria to Germany, probably not. Like, it's probably not going to work. I'm not saying it hasn't worked, because I've known people who've dated very far, and they're Christians, and now they're serving together, and they're living overseas. So it can happen, but is it worth trying right now in high school? Absolutely not. How should I handle past relationships, whether they end up good or not? How do I deal with the mistakes I've made? Well, you can't change the past. The past has already happened, right? Whether they ended good or not, it's up to you to walk with Christ in the sense of like you're understanding your mistakes. But if you continue to make them, you're just breaking up on steroids, like I talked earlier. If you know the mistakes you're making, stop making them. Oh, someone said I look cute today. Yeah, I don't think Eileen's going to like that. So whoever said that, yeah. How do you know if your girlfriend or boyfriend is cheating on you? And how do you know if you have a toxic girlfriend? So I really answer that, but there's no way, I can't tell you how they're cheating on you. Either you probably even know, and if you know, then why are you with that person? Right? Hi, Diana. Do you think it could be safer to date on the internet long distance because you won't break physical boundaries of Christian dating? So some of you might know this, but Eileen and I were dating when she was in China. Right? So we were dating. We didn't want to say we were dating because we didn't want any of those responsibilities like I talked earlier. But yeah, I think it was easier to date in that long distance relationship because we weren't being physically connected, right? We had those boundaries. It's not like I'm going to show myself in front of the camera. I know the government's always spying on me, so there's no way that I'm going to have myself flown and shown on the internet just for the government to get amused by it. But so yeah, I would say sometimes it's a bit easier to date in a long distance relationship because you have those boundaries. But eventually you're going to have to see that person, right? And so how are you going to contain those physical boundaries now, Matt? Now that's a question I have for you. How would you contain those boundaries? And I already told you how you should, nothing below the neck, not being alone, dating in public, dating in community. Is it ever your fault if someone cheats on you? If they're cheating on you, they're not worth your attention. They're not worth dating. My philosophy in a sense is, and you might disagree with this, but once you cheat, that becomes a habit, right? Because you just want to get away with it. You want to play with fire. And so if that person is going to cheat, they're probably going to do it again. So it's not really your fault. Now, if you've done something completely terrible, but they should never even cheat to begin with, but if you hurt them physically and they're trying to get away from you, I'm not going to say it's okay to cheat because that's not right, but you need to check yourself. When should you set boundaries? Well, if earlier in the sermon I said you should set boundaries, girls, you should know what your boundaries are as soon as you go into a relationship, right? As soon as you start dating, you should know your boundaries. Know your self-worth. Oh my gosh, this person sent like 20 questions. I think that's all the questions I've got so far. There's one in here, and I think I'll text this person individually. But you guys have some great questions, and I want to go back and correct myself on that cheating thing real quick, because cheating is not a right thing to do completely. My mom, she did some stuff, and that wasn't right? And she knows how I feel about that, and she knows how I feel about cheating, and I've been cheated on before by my friends, by my girlfriend, and it was the most hurtful thing. So I would never encourage cheating. Cheating is not a right thing to do. Break up, walk away. In your life groups tonight, I want you guys to communicate and talk with one another, but this isn't a time to gossip. This isn't a time to talk about your boyfriends and girlfriends. If you do end up talking about your boyfriends or girlfriends, use a name to respect that person's privacy. Right? So what I used to do in my small groups when we had issues with our girlfriends or girlfriends, and I knew the girls did this in their group when they talked about their boyfriends, they used code names, right? So my code name for our group was Stephanie. So everyone had a Stephanie, right? So if your name is Stephanie, I'm sorry, but we use your name. And then the girls would use a name like Andrew. So if there's an Andrew in here, sorry, but your name is going to be used today. So when you go into these life groups, talk to your leaders. They have some really great dating advice, I'm pretty sure, especially those who are married. But use those code names to respect that person's privacy, because this isn't a time to gossip. This isn't a time to get back at your boyfriend or girlfriend. This is a time for you to talk to your leaders about those healthy and unhealthy dating relationships and how to make them flourish for the future. So we're going to end real quick. I'm going to land the plane, and then we'll break into small groups. If you guys will bow your heads. Father in heaven, I'm grateful for the privilege that we have to be with Christ and to walk with you and to serve you. I pray, God, as we talk about relationships and what it means for us who are created in your image to appropriately handle the gift of one another, Lord, may we do so in a way that honors you. That Jesus would be in the forefront, even our dating relationships, so may the gospel come to bear on how we do life together. That we would be wise to ask the right questions and create patterns that help us in our future.